Hi guys, it's Bill and welcome back to my channel. Today I thought it would be fun if we can try and make an accordion sketchbook. Now, I have got some A3 paper here. Oh, actually it's cardstock, and so that's what I'm going to be making mine out of. You can, if you want, use like watercolour paper, but this is kind of like the biggest size that I've got. And I wanted to make mine out of A3 because I feel like I'm going to get more real estate out of it. So what we'll do is we'll jump into Cricut Design Space, and when we're in here we are going to open up a new project. So we're going to bring in a few different shapes. The first thing we're going to bring in is we're going to bring in a square and a circle, and we'll hide those. Right, the square is going to be the size of my sheet of A3, so I know exactly how to size things. So for that, I'm going to have it on landscape, so I will make it 42 centimeters by 29.7 centimeters, and that is basically my sheet of A3. I'm going to change the colour of that to white. And for the moment, I'm going to hide it. Now here with my circle, I am going to make that 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters. And again, I'm going to hide that. No, I'm not. I'm going to change the color of that to white, sorry. So you are going to need to have your grids on, and you're going to need to have the small grid. So up here in the corner, if you click this corner here, you can remove the grids. If you click it once, it will bring back a larger style grid, and if you click it again, it will bring up the larger grids with smaller grids inside. That's the one we want if you don't have that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to position this. Now I could take this and position it straight up in the corner, and then you see here it will go 0 and 0. If you're on, say, like a tablet, it might be a bit difficult. I've never used Cricut Design Space on a tablet, so I don't know exactly how that works. But if you are, we want things to be as precise as possible. So we're going to hit 0, and we're going to hit 0, and that's going to take us straight over to the corner. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make 4 more copies of this. So I can come over here and I can hit that 3 more times to give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 copies, which is brilliant. Now if I bring up my sheet of A3 and everything's frozen, if I move that over to the Z position, what you will see is that these all need to be lined out. So if I take this and I position those horizontally, they will all be overlapped. But if I was to have them all positioned out slightly more and select those and then distribute them that way, you would obviously see that it overlaps. So we want the latter, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this one to, I think, 32 on the X position. So 32. Oh, that's just disappeared for me, sorry. So 32, and that takes it straight up to the side or parallel to the sheet of A3, which I'm actually just going to hide for the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of these and I'm going to distribute them horizontally, and then I'm going to come up to the top here and I'm going to make sure they all align to the top. So all of them in here will be 0 on the y-axis, but they will all be different. So the first one is 0 and 0, 8 and 0, 16 and 0, 24 and 0, 32 and 0. And that is going to form the basis of our accordion sketchbook. Now I'm actually going to duplicate the last one a couple more times, and I'm going to take all of these and I'm going to come over to combined and I'm going to unite. The reason I'm uniting them and not welding them is because if I make a mistake and I want to go back in, if you use unite, you can basically go in and change them. So if you come up here, if you click down, they're all still editable objects within their own right. But obviously that's not quite what we want. We don't want to hide one of them, is what I mean. But if we make a mistake, we want to be able to go back and edit them. So the next thing we do is I'm actually going to take that and I'm going to duplicate it. Then I'm going to go back over to my shapes. I'm going to hit another square and I'm going to bring that over. I'm going to unlock this and I'm going to make it 2 centimeters by say 10 centimeters. In actual fact, I want that as 1 centimeter, not 2. And then I'm going to take this, I'm going to take my top one, I am going to align left, and I'm also going to center vertically, and let me just move that one down. And so then what we want to do is we want to go over to the bottom, the left hand bottom, I want to hit slice. So that is going to slice out those 3 pieces, and all of those 3 pieces can be deleted. So this will be the first part of our accordion sketchbook. And then what we want to do is, you can do this one of 2 ways actually. You can use the one that you duplicated, but I'm actually going to hide that for now. We can take this one, we can duplicate that again, then we can come back over to our shapes, we can have another square, and let's move that over, and again I'm going to unlock and I'm going to go 1 and 10, and I'm going to take both of them and I'm going to align left and align vertically, and again I'm going to slice. So then I can take those 2 pieces and I can delete them. That's going to be the middle of our sketchbook. So this would be the outside. This piece will glue onto here, and then what I'm going to do is I am going to duplicate this one again, and that is going to then become the second page or the last page. So it will be three I don't know what you would call these, 3 stretches or 3 pieces out and stretched. But what I am actually going to do is, for the moment, I'm actually going to delete that one, and I will show you why. I am going to zoom in. So 2 ways to zoom in. You can come down here to your little bar here and you can hit zoom, or you can hold down Z and zoom that way. But I'm going to just zoom out a little bit. I'm going to come back over to my shapes and I'm going to hit the line. The line automatically comes in as a score line, which is exactly what we want. You can change it, but we actually want it as a score line. I am, however, going to make that just a little bit longer. So we'll make that 7. And we're going to, we're going to bring that over, if I can get hold of it. And we're going to roughly place it for the moment, and we will properly center these up in a second, but for the moment I just want them in roughly the right place. And here. Okay, so again, what I'm going to do, this is actually probably easier just to zoom in using the little bar at the bottom. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that this line is as centered as close as possible into the middle of the 2 intersecting circles. So you can see on here that's pretty much straight on. I'm going to use a little bar down here to move over. This one you can see it's not. So you always want to make sure that you're selecting the line and not the actual sketchbook itself. So I can use this to position that over, and I think that is looking good. And then this one as well, and just using the X tool in the position, and I can just move that, and I think that looks good too. Oh, what did I do? Did I just undo something? Let me just check that. Yeah, that's fine. And then this one, and this one definitely needs to come over just a tad, and that's fine. And then that is all of them. So then I'm gonna zoom out. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select all of them and I'm going to attach. Because once they're attached, you won't be able to, when you move it all, you'll move all of it together, and that's basically what we want. So we're going to do exactly the same with this one, and let's attach those as well. So this will be our first page, middle page, and then I'm actually going to duplicate that one again, and that will be the second half of our second page. Now, these two circles over here that I made, these are going to become the outside of the sketchbook. So this one that's number 10, I'm actually going to make that, I'm going to make that 11. And I'm going to change the colour, because this is going to be cut out on a different material. So we'll make that like this blue purple colour. And then we'll zoom in, and then this one we want to bring that to the front, and the way you can do that is you can in the Mac it's Shift Command and the arrow, the bracket key. I'm not sure what it is on a PC, or what you can do is you can right click and then you can bring to front, and it will give you all of the different options here. So bring to front, or send backwards, or send back. So this one is our 10 by 10. That one, I'm actually going to change that to a score line, and I'm going to take both of those and I am going to center. So this will basically stick onto here like that, but it will obviously be the full circle, not the half. Let me show you with this one. It will actually be stuck on like that. So the next thing I want to do is I actually want to make another circle. Hit the shapes and circle, and this I'm going to make 10.5. If I'm just going to very quickly change that back to a score, but that's not actually what we're going to be using it as. If I change that to a score, you will see that's what it goes like, and that is absolutely fine. But we actually do want that as a score line, and I'm going to take one of those. All of these, again, I am going to center them. So we've got two score lines. We've got the inside one for the sketchbook, and then we've got the outside one, which I need to change that back to a basic cut, and I'm going to change the colour of that again to white. I'm going to attach all of those, and our basic white here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another shape, another square, and I'm going to turn that into 1 centimetre. Oh, and that's done that, but that's fine. So I can put it into 1 to 1. 1 centimetre, and the length, as long as it covers the bit you want to cut, and it's not looking like that, then its size isn't really that too much of an importance. And I'm going to do that. Doesn't really make much of a difference, but I'm going to center it as well, and I'm going to slice. So I'm going to take those, and I'm going to cut there, and then these that is basically going to go in there. Now the reason that I have got a score line is because I want to be able to line these up as easily and as quickly as possible, so it looks nice and neat. But let me zoom out on here, and I'm actually going to duplicate those as well. So everything's ready in InDesign, not InDesign, Cricut Design Space. I'm going to come up here and save this out. There's one more step that we need to do, which I've completely forgotten about. Our square that we made, let's bring that up. Now, if I was to go to cut this on a mat, what you will see is that it's saying you can't, it's too big to cut on a mat. So let me hit cancel. So what I want to do is I want to ever so slightly resize these. So I'm going to move my mat back over to the 0 position, and I'm going to move all of these over to the 0 position as well. Now, what you'll see is that here there is like, obviously it doesn't fill all the way up to the mat with all of the different paper, but it's still slightly too big to cut on the mat because we have a border around the stock that we're having. So even though these circles are 10 by 10, they're going to cut slightly smaller than that, but it's easier to have them at a fixed size and then scale down than it is trying to make them small and scale them up, for me personally anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ever so slightly move those in until, I think, let's try there. Let's see what that goes like. And if I hit make, for any material, and if I say that my paper is A3, there you go, I can now see that's going to fit comfortably on a sheet of A3. So for me, that's absolutely perfect. That is exactly what I want. Then on my second mat, that's also fine. And then I've got this one, which I'm cutting out on a thicker stock, but we'll come to that in a second. But for now, what we'll do is we will get the Cricut machine turned on and we'll get these made. So all of my materials now on my mat, and my mat is actually coming to the end of its life, so I've actually stuck it down with some masking tape just to give it a little bit of extra adhesion. So I'm going to hit heavy cardstock. Oh, I'm not quite sure what I've done there. I'm actually going to go up to my edit tools and I'm going to put in the single scoring wheel. If you don't have a scoring wheel but you have the stylus, you can also use that as well. But I'm going to put in the single scoring wheel and hit apply. And I'll load my material into the machine and press cut. Okay, so I've cut out my paper or my cardstock, and now I'm going to cut out the board. So I'm going to hit continue. I've got it on a sheet of A3 and it's on a strong grip mat. Now I think this may need a different type of blade, so we'll have a discover together. So we'll go to materials. I am going to say this is maybe poster board. Continue. Right, again, I'm going to put in the single scoring wheel. Okay, everything has cut out. Not sure what was happening on this one. However, some of the pieces look a little janky, but let's just remove this and pop off our pieces. I did actually forget to cut one of these pieces, so I had to then go back in and recut it, but that's not a problem. And let's just put our protective film back on. I think everyone probably knows by now, don't throw these away, because they are there to protect. Now, on this piece, because this is a strong grip mat that's still very sticky, when I used the scoring wheel, it really did the card to it. Maybe I should have used a standard grip mat. That's easy enough to clean off. I'm going to do that off camera, but you can just use your scraper tool to remove that. That itself is absolutely fine. And then if you look on here, you'll see where it's stuck. So what I've done is I've got one of these kits. I don't know why, because I can't draw, but I thought I'd buy one and give it a try. And then all I've got is they come with this little bit of sandpaper. So all I've done is I've just gone round the outside and just very gently cleaned that up, and that's literally all you need to do. So if you do get anything like that, you know, there's normally always a way to you know, to fix those problems that you sometimes get. It's not exactly how I wanted it, but it's fine, it will do. It's a sketchbook, they don't have to be perfect, unless of course you're making them to sell, then obviously that's a different story. So that is all of my pieces. So we have got the inside of the sketchbook, we've got the outside of the sketchbook. So I've got this, which I got from a bookbinding kit. In a previous video, I think I called it about 2, maybe 3 different types of things: a bone folder, bone scraper. I think it's a bone folder, I'm not entirely sure. So we have now got our score lines. So what we want to do is we literally just want to fold along those score lines like so. So that is our inside piece. We then have our other inside piece. So that will go like that. That will fold. Then that will fold that way. And then that way. And then that way. And then that will be our outside of the book. And that will fold that way. And I suppose technically speaking, it doesn't really matter which way round you actually fold this, because, well, I'm going to say that, I'm probably going to prove myself wrong now, aren't I? So we'll say that is going to attach to that, which means that will fold that way, that way, that way, and that way. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the bone or bone scraper. I'm just going to scrape those sides down. And again, of course, if you want to use like watercolour paper, then you can obviously do that. Every type of medium that you use is all going to be ever so slightly different. Now comes to the attaching these together. So we want to do our inside pieces first. And I actually tested some different types of glues. Elmer's rubber cement is my absolute favourite, but I don't think it's quite right for this. So I'm actually just using some washable school glue. Pritt stick is okay, but isn't maybe quite strong enough. This, I'm a bit worried it's going to leave a green tint. So I don't want any kind of tints on the paper. I just want them white, so I'm going to be using this washable school glue from Elmer's. But I'm pretty sure like any kind of school glue would, in theory, be fine. Okay, so now we come to attaching this together. So obviously we are going to have things that are going to overlap. That is just part of the process, because obviously we're putting an accordion sketchbook together. So because our paper isn't long enough, this is how we have to attach them. I have got some bulldog clips just off camera here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use some school glue and just adhere that to that. You don't want to go too close to the edge. Obviously we want to make sure that we've got enough on there that we're going to be adhering it all together. And obviously this is ever so slightly wet, so it's still very movable and pliable. So that is our first page done. Now we come to our second page, and we'll have that adhere like that. Exactly the same thing. We'll put some school glue down. And stick that on there. Okay, that's fine. So then I'm going to take all of my pages and fold them all up. I think maybe I did that round the wrong way, but that's fine. Then I'm going to stick these all together, make sure that they are actually lined up whilst the glue is still semi-wet. So actually maybe it might be better if I stick these like this rather than all together, because this is the first time I'm actually putting this all together. I haven't tested this off camera. So we will let that dry for a little while, and then we will come back, and once that's dry we will start sticking all of the final pieces of it together. Okay, so this has now dried, and one mistake that I did realise that I made is that when I resized this down, I didn't resize any of this. So the inside circle is actually bigger than what am I trying to say? The inside circle is actually bigger than this, but that's absolutely fine. That is not a problem. As long as we make sure that we line this up, I don't think it will be much of a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over. It doesn't have to be exact, but we want it as close in the middle as we can possibly get it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this piece down as well. And that is going to stick slightly out. Really, that's actually going to butt up to that, which when I look at this, because that doesn't really seem to be working very well. So what I'm going to do, what I'll do is I'll trim these down because they are actually just ever so slightly too big. I'm going to take off probably more than what I think I need. I'm going to keep them together. And the reason for that is because I don't want them overlapping. So this is just one of those things that sometimes happens. You think it's going to work out and actually it doesn't. But it is absolutely fine. So I think that actually might need a little bit more glue on it as well on the inside. Just stick some on there. On the inside as well. And this is the first time I'm making this, so this is a lot of this is trial and error. that's fine to come on the outside because that's going to go on there anyway. That is going to fit in there. So let's also glue that on and stick that on. And that is one side done. And I'm just going to remove any of the glue. I'm just going to take a little bit of parchment paper and just put that in there, just so it doesn't stick to this side. And now we obviously have this side that we want to stick down. Okay, so this has been drying under some pressure. The heaviest thing I actually have is my Cricut maker, because I have to store it in the box because I don't have much room. So that was actually the heaviest thing that I had to store that under. But you can use books, basically anything that's heavy. This has been drying for probably about 45 minutes. It could probably maybe do with a little bit longer. But that is basically our accordion sketchbook. I thought it would be nice to do a circle rather than just a square. So there you go, guys. That is how you can make an accordion sketchbook using your Cricut machine. And of course you can make squares and different shapes. Like I said before, I thought a circle would be a nice interesting shape to make. Lots of challenges in making it, and of course you can bind it as well if you or cover it if you wish. I'm going to leave mine like this, and yeah, so please make sure you like, share and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.